All right, so I'm hoping that this is all the sales pitch I need to convince you that a modified box plot is the way to go. And thankfully, it's the default in StackCrunch, so you have to actually do some work to not have your um, box plot show outliers. So if we look at these two box plots, I just want to remind us that every section of our box plot represents 25% of our data, right? So 25% of students in my class had gone to between what looks like 50 because they don't have an actual value there, but it is 48. And whatever the heck this is, let's say 13, maybe 14 states, right? And then 25% had gone from 13 to 8 or whatever this is, and then 25% from 8 to 6, and then 25% in this like 6 to 0 or 5 to 0 range. So each of these sections represents the same number of students, even though some of them are significantly longer than others. This is really hard for students to sort of comprehend when we first see box plots, if you, especially if you didn't see them in like middle and high school, if you're a returning student. But this is the important idea is that the same number of people are in each of these. We just have more variability when it comes to the people who've gone to a lot of states. There's more variation between the number of states they visited. But those people who haven't really left California, there's not a whole lot of variability. They probably went to California and then maybe like one or two states that their family might be in. So way less variability down here on the low end for the people who don't travel as much, way more variability on the high end. And now when we look at the modified box plot, we still have this section that represents 25%. It's not the whisker anymore. It's everything from here to here is 25%. But we can now see that that 25% is not just a bunch of people over here on the high end, right? We don't really know where those, there were 62 students, so it's 462 divided by 4, where those 15 students were, right? Without this information, we're kind of going, well, maybe there's a bunch of people who've gone to a bunch of different states, or maybe it's completely evenly distributed across this entire whisker. We don't know. But when we do the modified box plot, we can see we have these three high outliers, and then in reality, the other 12 students are all in this sort of similar band, right? So we have these four sections that are pretty similar in terms of how many states are in them, and then we have these three high outliers, as opposed to just thinking that 25% of the class is doing a lot of travel. We can see that's just the 28, the 40, and the 48. So anyways, that is my sales pitch for the modified box plot. I think she's beautiful. And a reminder that each section of our box plot represents 25% of the data. And so if we have 62 people, that is roughly 15 students falling into each of these little groups. You will see too, if you do a box plot for a data set or a numeric variable that doesn't have a whole lot of distinct values, you'll sometimes end up with a median that matches Q1 or Q3. And then you'll have a box plot that looks like it doesn't have a median, but really the median's at one of the two ends of it, and it's just really hard to see. In fact, if you have small data sets or data sets with a lot of repeated values, you may end up with a box plot that's incredibly silly, where your Q1, Q3, and median are all the same, and you just have this like line in the middle. This can happen. So that's it. This is a box plot. This is a modified box plot. I love her. Use her all the time. That's it.